So hey guys, and welcome to the second part of our Prague Castle Interiors series. In the previous part we talked about the interiors of the St. Vitus Cathedral, and this one will focus on the Old Royal Palace. So the Old Royal Palace was founded in 9th, 10th century, right at the beginning of Prague. And since 12th century it was made out of stone. Originally it was wooden. And the oldest parts are on the bottom. Today they are like cellars. And because the later generations they built on top. So what we will have a look at is the Vladislav Hall. We'll go inside. It's a beautiful late Gothic and partially Renaissance hall. So guys, let's go inside. So here's our tickets again. It's the same ticket for all the 4 interiors that we're going to cover. Hey guys, isn't it gorgeous? So this Vladislav Hall was built at the end of 15th century by the King Vladislav Jagellon, hence again the big W. Big initial right on at the end on top. The guy liked to put his initials on stuff. So this hall, when it was built at the end of 15th century, it was the biggest hall in the world without any columns supporting the ceiling. 62 meters tall, 62 meters long, 16 meters wide, and it was so big that they had jousting tournaments here indoors. So actually at the end of this tour, we'll see at the end there's a horse rider staircase. That's how they got the horse riders for the jousting tournaments inside here. So the Vladislav Hall, you know what's unique about it, it's a beautiful late Gothic vaulted ceiling done by a German architect, Benedict Ried, and the windows of Renaissance. Today it's used for official events, for example, they give medals to veterans, or the president has a speech here, you know, when he wins the elections, and so on. So guys, now we'll go through this portal and we'll have a look inside the Louis wing of the Old Royal Palace, where there are the offices of the Czech Royal Office. Now normally, if you go here during the season, there's plenty of people, but we're alone here because COVID. So these 2 chambers that we walked through were chambers of the Czech Royal Office. You know, there were 4 Habsburg ministers, representative of the Habsburg monarchy, who were governing when they were not present, because the Habsburgs, they moved the capital to Vienna and ruled from there. And these 2 windows is where the second defenestration of Prague took place. It happened on 23rd of May, 1618. Now, defenestration means throwing somebody out of a window as a political act. And on that day, in 1618, a mob of Czech Protestants, led by several Protestant noblemen, they stormed into these rooms and they threw out 2 Habsburg Catholic ministers and their scribe, who was Italian, out of these windows. Now, what's interesting is that all 3 survived the fall, although it's actually 17 meters or 50 feet. Now, how do you survive a 50 feet fall? Well, the Catholics said that it was Virgin Mary who came from heaven and caught the man in her arms. The historians, they're a little bit more skeptical. They say that it's probably that there was a pile of manure below the window, or that the garden actually looked differently, that there was a slope and those men rolled on the slope and they softened their landing. Anyway, this event, the second defenestration of Prague, started the 30 Years' War, which was the bloodiest conflict in human history until World War I. 1/3 of the Czech population died in that war, and it was entirely European conflict between Protestants and Catholics all over Europe for 30 years, hence 30 Years' War. The Czech side, the Protestants, who uprised against the Austrian Catholics, They were crushed in 1620 in the Battle of the White Mountain, and we lost all our independence and all our religious freedoms in that war, and all the Czech Protestant noblemen lost their property. The peasants, they simply had to convert to Catholicism. Now, what's also worth mentioning are these stoves. They're original from 17th century, and simply, you would put wood inside, it would burn, and then the chimney is inside the wall. And notice that there's actually no door in this room. How do you add the wood inside? How do you put the wood inside? It's actually put in from the other room. There's a little door here. And the reason for that is because the servants, they wouldn't want to disturb the Habsburg ministers inside, when they had a debate, so they would heat up the room from the outside. The same thing here, same stove. So let's go over now to the diet hall. So now we're entering the diet hall. Now the diet hall was used during the times of the estate monarchy, so that was before 1620, and there will be representatives of different estates, meaning the nobleman, the knight, and the church. Later the cities joined as well, so there were 4 estates, and the king. And they would be debating politics. When the king was weak, the estates had a lot of power. When the king was strong, the estates didn't have that much power. Now this ended in 1620, when we lost in the Battle of the White Mountain. Afterwards, the estates were cancelled, and it was only the king. We became absolute monarchy, so the king ruled alone. Now up there on the balcony, there would be a scribe, so like a medieval lawyer who would be taking notes of what's being said. And then here on the walls we have paintings of different emperors and one empress from the Habsburg monarchy. So the painting on the right shows us Maria Theresa. Maria Theresa was the only woman that ever sat on the Czech throne. Only men could be kings. But her father, Charles VI, he didn't have any son. So he decided to create a new law called Pragmatic Sanction that was passed in 1726 that allowed women to ascend the throne. So in 1740, when he died, Maria Theresa claimed the throne, but a lot of her relatives, like the King of Prussia, King of Bavaria, they said, this is nonsense, she's a woman, I have a better claim on the Austrian throne and the Czech throne than she does. So she had to fight for her rule in the wars of the Austrian succession, in which we lost Silesia, which is now part of Poland. We lost it to Prussia. That man in black next to her, that's František Štěpán Lotrinský. Now, that's her husband. They had 16 children together. So quite a busy woman, ruling for 40 years, 16 children, passed a lot of reforms. For example, she made the primary school mandatory in our country. And she passed a lot of reforms. Now her oldest son is here. His name is Joseph II. So he became king after her, although they ruled together when Joseph II was adult. And we call him Emperor Reformator. So for example, he made all the religions equal. He cancelled servitude. So suddenly, like he was very liked by the common folk. And he kind of looks like George Washington in there because he ruled in the same time, like 1780 until 1790. So it was just fashionable back then to wear wigs and dress like that. Then after him came Leopold II. He ruled only 2 years. He's the brother of Joseph. And then we have Francis I, who ruled until 1835. He was the one who was fighting Napoleon. And when he lost to him, then he arranged a marriage between Napoleon and his daughter. Maria Luisa. And now if you look down here, we have copies of the crown jewels. So the originals are in the chamber in the St. Wenceslas Chapel in the St. Vitus Cathedral, but these are copies. Now the crown jewels would be used only during the coronation, so it wouldn't be like the king would walk around with a crown on his head all the time. It's pretty heavy as well, so he probably hurt his neck, and it was only used for coronation. So it was really like a, like a holy relics, very important. So we have the orb and the scepter and the crown. Now guys, before we exit through the horse rider staircase, we actually have a look into the second floor here, and there are offices of the land rolls, the land register. So you just have to take the staircase here. So this was a land register, so this is where they kept all the records, like who owns what land, and where they kept the law books as well. And what's beautiful here is that we can see the coat of arms of different families, different people who held the most important offices, most important jobs in the Czech kingdom, such as the highest chamberlain, highest scribe, the highest judge, and so on. Now in 1541, the worst fire in Prague's history took place, here in the little quarter in the Prague Castle, and the land rolls burned, which was like suddenly it was chaos because like all the land records were like perished, disappeared. So guys, now we're leaving the Old Royal Palace and we're taking the horse rider staircase. And notice how the steps are actually quite long and low, so the horses could climb up for the jousting tournaments. Okay guys, so we've covered the entire Old Royal Palace. I hope you enjoyed. This was the second part of our 4-part series of the Prague Castle Interiors. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. You can check our website lucidtours.com as well. And I'll see you in the part 3, which will be the Basilica of St. George. So see you in a minute. Bye-bye.